you said you've had some experience with Google Summer of Code, also known as GSoC. How impactful do you think that is? I mean, from a bucket of money and mentorship, Google's been doing this for a long time. There are other programs that have kind of gone that same way, but I think Google was the first and was one of the largest. I have no idea what their size is now. How impactful do you think that has been for you and your journey and the students that you worked with?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll preface this, I guess, with the disclaimer that I've only mentored for one summer. So there's a lot of people who've had like much deeper involvement with Google Summer of Code than I have. Um, but I think it's like a really incredible program from a point of scale and also thinking about like global engagement. Like it's really, really cool that we can work with contributors on the other side of the world. I worked with a female student in India this year, and that was like just like a really neat paid collaboration, right? That wouldn't have been possible through a lot of other without this mechanism to offer that support. Um, so I think that's really cool. I also know that like before my time in our as a postdoc with our OSPO, like that program actually has been fruitful in the sense that it brought us like a graduate student, like a student who again, like not US based, had a really positive, engaging experience in GSoC. And then that led them to like apply to a grad program here and stand out as an applicant and then be admitted and be like a just super stellar graduate student now. So I think like those aspects of the program are so valuable. Like it's so cool and unique that Google's in the position to fund something on that scale. I think things that like I don't even think they're criticisms. I think they're just challenges of that model are that every organization that participates has like their own, mentoring style, their own training or not for their mentors, their own structure or not for like supporting those relationships. And so I think Google actually has like, I think it's a pretty great handbook that outlines a lot of like, suggestions, like how to be a great mentor, things you might do. What I don't know is like how many people like study that and like execute the ideas put forth in that realistically. And um, yeah, so I don't know. I think that's something we're starting to think about as an organization is like, are there ways that we can add like a layer on top of that for next year that like helps create more community? Because we also hear from our summer contributors that they would love to have more like of a cohort experience, like my in-person students did. And so we're starting to brainstorm on that. I did some training this summer around mentorship and just adding like scaffolding and structures to help guide like more consistent structure across experiences. But
And you have that as an open source project, do you?
not yet, but I would love to. I would love to. That's actually a great idea to to make those resources available.
And
Yeah.
that's part of where I was going, right? Because I
Mm,
can tell you any community worth their salt, one of the first things that certainly I advise them to do, and most do, is do a form of mentor program, right? How are we going to make it easy for people to come and participate in our community, right? Any
mhm.
successful community, and as you know, I will argue that when I look at a project, the community is as important, if not more, than the technology they're building. Because if it's not something sustainable and can grow, it's going to struggle. So community is important. Being able to, and a strong piece of that is how do you get people in? How do you teach them what you're trying to do? How do you show them what principles you're going after? What does a mentorship program look like to do that? And so having tools that are ready baked, and particularly some that tie back into academia, because that's a great resource to get people who come to projects. That all fits really well. And I granted it's true that while GSoC is a mentorship program, it's also somewhat of an internship program, right? Because
Mhm.
it's paid thing, right? And so it's a little bit different, but that alliance between the work that you and your folks are doing with what the communities need as far as that scaffolding to build a mentorship and building upon that GSoC guidebook for mentorship, that's a great place to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that question and feedback. I think I'm excited now to be starting to connect with more other people who are doing mentorship work, like at Open Infra. And also, I've connected with Code Day and Mentors of Tech and some other orgs. And we're starting to try and like gel like an interest group to like really be talking more about like what resources are out there and how can we share resources. And I love the idea of really trying to figure out how to share some of these resources more broadly outside our individual organizations. I think, that's something we would probably all love to do.